are going to be finishing up our foam miniature of Young Frankenstein's castle. And this is going to be living in our faux cathedral window that also acts as a lightning bolt. Yeah, we're going to figure that one out. I'm Rachel DeBarros, and thanks for watching Gearhead Diva. So we better get started because there's a lot of details to work out. But I'm going to bring you guys up to speed on some of the things that I already got done yesterday and the day before, because the more I built onto this castle, remember we were trying to achieve an artistic perspective based on the Walt Disney archival footage, or it's actually a painting of the Young Frankenstein castle, and I'm gonna put that up for us to remember what that looks like. So you can see that the angles are kind of like slanted and very artsy, and we try to mimic some of that. You know, they're not very 90 degrees like you would find in a real structural building. But the more I did this, the more the building just started to kind of get out of whack. So what I did when you guys were gone, and I'll give you guys a much closer look here, and that's not close enough. Let me bring you guys in even further. So if you look at the angles here, they are much closer to 90 degrees, like this guy right here. And listen, I'm not gonna lie, it's not exactly 90 degrees, but it's mostly there, and I'm happy with that. So what happened was I went ahead and scored a lot of our glue lines in order to be able to scrunch this castle in and create those mostly 90-degree angles. And what happened in the front here is we had some really nice mitered lines where a lot of these seams were hidden. It was great. I was like, yeah, I'm rocking this mitering. But once I bent this thing so it's more 90-ish degrees, well, all these seams opened up back up again. So it's kind of hideous, and we're going to have to figure something out. And one idea I had was this: by looking at that painting, that matte painting they used for the movie, is that the castle does have some of this decor, some of this stoning. So I think I'm going to continue that on this side, and we're going to attack some of the details, but we're also going to take care of some of the big stuff like the roof and all that. So I think I'm going to start by putting the other piece on, which I've already cut, on this side, so that way the glue, you know, starts drying, and then we can move along to the roof. And then there are fine details like trimming all of our nice little windows there. It's got a couple bands that go across the building according to that photo. And then from there, we're probably going to take some creative liberties of our own. I think I want to do some more dilapidation of this building right here. So I worked on this part a little bit earlier today, and you can see its little friend here. I did the same thing, and let me see if I can bring you guys in even closer. Yeah. So you can see this guy right here with his little miniature, you know, little border there. It helps hide kind of those, you know, those gaps. And here I gave him a wall, and I already pretty much made it mostly 90 degrees, you know, as 90 as it could get with some, you know, dollar store foam core. And that's the beauty of this thing. So far, we've only spent $1 on this in material. So that's great. I'm not going to lie. So this is pretty well decorated. It's nice to add some very miniature window trim. That's going to be challenging. I should have probably grabbed some tweezers to, you know, put these little pieces on. And of course, my dog is very excited about this project. And then finally, the last thing I did was figure out that tower. Because if you look at the Frankenstein castle, we have that central tower in the back, and that's clearly rectangular, square type of tower. But then there's one to the right of that that's a little bit short, that separates the two, I guess, front-facing buildings. That's a cylindrical round one. And so we talked about using toilet paper rolls. You know, see, we even cut one out here, and I tried bending it in different ways. Then I tried making an extra long one, you know, and bending it. But I just couldn't get the curvature really right. And I tried then bending the foam core board. But look at how nastily it cracked. Yeah, nastily. I mean, it cracked so bad, I feel like I need to, like, you know, come up with a new word for it. But yeah, it's just, it didn't look too great. Now, in retrospect, I think what would have worked is to use the toilet paper, but, you know, make it a lot more material, and then cut very thin strips of this, and then I think you'd be able to make that bend. So that's something I could have tried. But I went to the old reliable, which is the purple stuff. And because it's cylindrical, the material, it's okay if it's a little thick. So with this, and there is a video both on YouTube and on Discord of this entire process. And what I started to do, and I just stopped because this thing is not focusing. Oh, there we go. There, it focused on it. So there's a video that talks about the entire process of how I did this, and I used the Dremel to kind of hollow it out. That way we can add windows to it and have some light coming out. So that's one of the things I started doing, and it's, you know, nothing fancy production. It's basically just running a cell phone camera to catch kind of what happens in between the streams. That way we can do a couple little things and we don't have to cut out like 500 roof shingles. I mean, I'm sure you guys are like totally want to watch that, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to tune into this stream because we are just going to cut out rectangular shingles for 3 hours. Yeah, I'm thinking you guys don't want to do that. So I went ahead and, you know, in preparation for our roof, cut out some neat looking little shingles. And all it is taking a TV dinner box or vegetable box, any type of frozen food box. Like this one. This one I think is for some kind of soup, split pea soup. And what I like about this cardboard type of material is that it's not too thick, it's not too thin. I know, it's like, that's a great description. It's like, how do I, you know, replicate this? But this is great. You can take the little thin cardboard off of notepads, you know, so you have all the papers you rip off. And then in the back, there's usually that particle boardish type material. That's really great for making shingles, but I really do like the TV dinners and frozen food boxes. So I usually, you know, keep a couple of them here in the shop. People were like, you know, thinking I eat TV dinners all the time, but they're very good. My favorite is the Hungry Man series fried chicken. That is my favorite TV dinner. But with these roof shingles, all you have to do is cut strips, you know, and I have a couple strips waiting for me, you know, something like this, you know, cut it, and then take your scissors and then cut those strips down like this. And then if you look really closely, I kind of, you can see the edges. I cut some of them sharp or kind of crooked, so it simulates little shingles that, you know, maybe they've seen better days. I'm thinking that for someone like a Frankenstein, he spends all day, or Dr. Frankenstein, spends all day with his experiments and his monsters. He don't got time for no castle maintenance, okay? So we're gonna make the castle look like that. There's a couple things that are just not gonna be functioning real well. A couple more dilapidated things because he's got experiments to worry about, not you know, home maintenance. So I'm gonna put these little shingles aside until we're ready for them, and I've cut them of different widths and different sizes to see which one's gonna work out best. So you're gonna wait over here. And where to start? Oh yes, I had already told you guys where we're gonna start. We're gonna start by adding this piece here to the side. And my idea for that is I'd like to get this piece settled in because when we put the roof on, I'm gonna add similar of these pieces along the roof, but I'm gonna hold off on that in case the roof, like there's gaps and maybe I don't get it quite right. We can always use these pieces here to kind of seal up any mistakes and then look at it later and be like, oh, so perfect. So let's see. This is kind of tedious but fun, and a lot of the foam rips. And at first I was really, you know, freaking out about that, but it's the best thing because that's what gives it kind of that natural crumbly stone look. So I'm going to use my little craft knife here, and I'm going to give you guys a closer view. Something like that. David Beck says, now you made me hungry again. I know, I always try and like eat before because we never know how long we're gonna go. So while we're here and you guys are rolling in, Frozen Mustache is back and he says, wow, welcome Frozen Mustache. Oh, here's David Beck with the chicken drumsticks. Here we go. My fried chicken hungry man. I think he used to come with like mashed potatoes and some kind of green thing like peas or you know, string beans or something. I'm pretty sure they still make them, but it's been a while since I've had Hungry Man. But what I did here, let's see how easy it is. See how that's kind of like an L shape? It's got kind of a little channel going on here, and that's what's going to wrap around our seam. So the long part of the L is going to be in front of the building, and the short part of the L is going to be, you know, along the side here. And if you compare, in my opinion, I think that this is too thick, because look at how close it gets to that little window, and by the time we put a window trim on there, it's going to kind of obliterate it. So I'm going to cut it back similar to what I did with this side. So without further ado, let's get to cutting, and hopefully, you know, in a place that you can see. So all I'm going to do is make horizontal slits, you know, real simple like that, and see how pieces are already kind of breaking off. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. I did in the beginning. So see, we have a tooth, and we're just going to continue putting teeth and not really be caring about how straight these cuts are. And in fact, putting in a couple diagonals, you know, that one looks a little more chipped. That's pretty good. And we're going to go most of the way in to our side here. And I really like these kind of side trim castle moldings. Sometimes you see them in really old stone houses still. And they're the parts that I guess receive most abuse because they start to kind of crumble. So I'm going to add a little bit of that, and I probably won't even have to try. Pieces of styrofoam just kind of break off. Or I guess this is foam core board, not exactly, you know, the crumbly styrofoam. And the objective today is to see if we can get, you know, pretty much all of our roof done. A few of the details, because a lot of the details are repetitive. I'm pretty sure you guys don't have to sit here and watch me put in every single piece of window frame, you know, or trim, because it pretty much works the same. We'll probably do one, and then I will speed do it, you know, between today and tomorrow in time for the next stream, which is figuring out the whole cliff situation. Now, one of you guys had a good idea. I think it was David, talking about paper mache. And I was like, oh man, I actually had to really dig down in my memory banks for elementary school and middle school paper mache projects. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember how to make paper mache. But it's pretty simple. I think what I'm going to do first is, you know, attempt, you know, to sculpt something like that for our cliff using some sharp cuts. And I'm not going to lie, if that fails, I'm a chicken out. I'm going to do the paper mache idea for sure. Or we could do two and do a side-by-side comparison of which one we like the best. And this is nice. It's looking pretty jaggedy. And then I clean up just the little dusty particles, because that, once you paint it, that kind of gives it away that it's foam. So we're going to try and hide some of those. But once we get this trim on, then we can think of a strategy for the roof and all the inclinations and begin to tie everything together. Because there are a couple towers, well, the main cone of the towers we have, but the tops of the towers that have steeples and all those kind of cool things, we have to figure some of that out. And I think we'll dilapidate some of them. And you can see my teeth are looking a little jagged there. And in the beginning, I thought, oh man, I'm really jacking this up. But once I put it on the piece, it looked totally real. I'm like, yeah, finally a project where we can on purpose jack things up. Usually we have to try and be as good as we can, and especially when you're streaming, sometimes you only get one go at it, you know? And if you mess up, uh-oh, you need to try again later. Or in my instance, how many times have we just gone with the mistake and kept it and just kept the project going, and then the mistake in the end ended up looking totally cool? So we might do a lot of that today. And this will probably be one of the only lightning detecting windows available on the market. So that'll be an interesting thing to do, but I think it'll look really cool. And the other thing to start thinking about for next week is the lighting scheme we want to go with. We talked about EL wire. Let's see how that looks. Let's do a, whoop, 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 whoop. Where are you guys? Oh, there you are. So let's do a sample test. And let me turn it like this just to make my life a little easier. All right. So that is looking pretty good, but you can see that it still encroaches on that window a bit. So, and it looks very toothy, you know, so let's jag up. See how these stones all look very straight cut on this side, because I just, you know, pretty much went like that. So let's start adding some jagged edges. You know, if I just kind of cut this one on a diagonal, that one, and some of them you can even cut completely off, like it's already fallen off. And you know, Frankenstein, or Dr. Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, I've been mispronouncing his name this entire time. Frau Blucher is going to be very upset, you know, with us mispronouncing Dr. Frankenstein's name. Frankenstein! Oh, I did it again. Frankenstein. So, he has no time for this petty castle maintenance, so we're going to reflect that. Oh, I just broke him off. Oh, go back. Go back. Yeah, there we go. Just go back. Oh, he's not going to stay. Sometimes, like, via static electricity, it'll hold together. And then when you paint it, it kind of binds it. But that'll probably end up looking good. So if he broke, I think I'm going to cut this one on a diagonal like this. Make him pretty short. So this whole section just kind of got broken off. So those are the things that I was talking about that happen pretty regularly, is your styrofoam just, or foam core board. And this also gives the stones a more natural looking roundness instead of being so sharp cut. Or else it just looks too much like styrofoam or cardboard. And maybe I can turn my hand like this. All right, one more test, and then we'll get back to talking about our lighting scheme here. Test it. And that's, I want to, you know, if I can get my hand out of the way so you all can see as well. All right. See how that window has a little more room to breathe? I think that's probably good. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this, and we're going to add the same kind of stone. See these grooves to create the stone effect? It's kind of tough to do it on this piece because it's so flimsy. So I'm going to glue it on here and then do it right on the castle. So this time I had already fired up my glue gun early this time, and we're a little close. I don't want you guys to get burned by the glue gun. So I'm going to give you guys a little more space. Yep, don't get burned. And put it right in our ugly little, oops, I went off the side. Our ugly channel there that was created when I had the idea to make these more 90-degree-esque. Oh. Pressing along the seam to get this done. And that's nice. We got like kind of like a little raised border here. So that's nice. That kind of covers the seam that we had going on there. And there's a lot of black magic marker, which of course we're painting over this thing. So I'm going to let this set up just a few more seconds before we go for it. We're going to add our stone effect. All right, that's enough seconds. Now I'm going to bring you guys in a little bit closer to see the detail there. So you can see a definite difference between this one and this one. This one looks like hella fake, you know, and this one looks more realistic. So the first thing we're going to do is bust out our aluminum foil ball again, and he's all nice and blurry. Check him out. It looks like a meteor or something. And just roll him over our surface carefully, because I already see this thing shifting a bit. But this adds kind of that first level of stone effect, because stone is porous, and so we're adding our little pores. And the other thing I found helpful for really delicate pieces like that, where maybe the aluminum ball pressing down on it is a little bit too hard, is a wire brush like this, and you just kind of poke it, and it creates pretty much a similar effect. So I think I'm going to wire brush this one. And if you scratch the wire brush across, that helps create, like for roofs, if you want to create a hay type of effect, or, you know, if it's made of straw, the roof, or even your shingles, if you were to make them out of little foam pieces, you can make them look, you know, even more worn. But for our purposes, I think our Hungry Man special roof package will be fine, because the roofs are going to be so tiny, because this is a miniature. I don't think we need a whole heck of a lot of detail like that. So normally, last time, if you guys were watching, I make all of these grooves using just a blunt instrument like that, especially this foam core, which is really thin and delicate to begin with, and start making our lines. But because this piece is so thin, I don't want to apply a whole heck of a lot of pressure. So instead, for this time, I'm going to use a craft knife. And just very gently, I wouldn't even call it scoring. I am just gently dragging that across, and then using light pressure with this pencil, mechanical pencil, without even a lead at the end. It's just a blunt end of it. And it's important to wrap around your lines so that way it looks more realistic. See how that one over here wrapped around. So we want to do that. I did the same thing with the windows. It really helps shape them. If you look inside, I wrapped that stone look around. So when you paint it, it looks way more realistic than having very smooth foam on the insides. Kind of gives away the whole thing. So let's finish adding our effect here. And we're already getting some nice stone. And I don't do them all straight. Sometimes I'll move the craft knife up, because, you know, we start losing some of that mortar over time. And maybe this one will go down a little bit. And very lightly, I mean, scoring is a bit much, but just dragging that craft knife just to kind of give you something to push down on. And very simply like that, we have kind of our stone castle border, and it helps cover up some of that nasty mitering. Well, it was good mitering. And then once I decided to make it all 90 degrees, it kind of jacked up all the angles. But in retrospect, I think I should have done this from the get-go, is just make a 90-degree castle instead of trying to find or follow artistic lines. Just wasn't translating well. All right. And we are moving along with some stone. Oh yeah. And it's beginning to look nice against our other one. It's looking maybe a little bit more dilapidated than the other one. But that's okay. And this is where our little styrofoam, oops, I kind of cut through that by accident. I went to yap with you guys, and that's what happened. But it's not really noticeable. And I'll go back, whoop, you guys can't see. I'll go back and kind of fine tune this side of the foam, so you bring the line around. But for now, I'm going to concentrate on this side here. Oh yes, lighting. We were talking about lighting. So this will act as a lightning detector, but I thought, what about when there's no storms, which is like, you know, a lot of the times there's no lightning. Is it just going to sit there and be kind of dark? So why don't we come up with a ambient lighting, you know, that is on when there is no storm. So I was thinking, you know, maybe having amber and or light blue type of LEDs that shine consistently to kind of indicate a nice, you know, starry night. And I think we can add some twinkling stars with fiber optics, you know, the way they make them for theaters and they poke them through. So I think we could totally do that. And for our ambient lighting, that can be part of it, the twinkly stars. And then we can have some blue LEDs that are more, is this loose? Yeah, this needs to be glued. Let me see if I can sneak on in there. Ooh. Whoop. So what were you talking about? Yes, ambient LEDs. And inside the castle, of course, like a flickering amber, as if the, there's some lights going on in there, or fire lights, rather than electrical. He's got some nice flames going, candlelight, doing experiments by candlelight. And Dave Beck says, the edge looks so right. I think you planned it all along. Yes, I did. As in not at all. But I'm almost thinking I like this edging. Well, like you guys can even see when it's off like that. I like this edging better than this. See how the stones are kind of like more perfect there? This stones here are like way more jacked up. So kind of like, I guess once you get a little more practice, I ended up liking this version. I think for this version, I was a little bit hesitant and not going all the way, just kind of giving a little bit of a taste. But now I'm getting a little brave, and we all know what happens. All of a sudden, the project gets jacked up. But so far, my bravery has been rewarded. And let's get down here. We're almost done this wall. Oh, and then for the lightning scheme, of course, we're going to have that EL wire coming down to Frankenstein's tower, and it's going to hit that. So I think that's going to be cool. And then we're going to have some flashing LED lights that accompany it to, make it look like the sky is got lightning in the clouds. And we are going to do some cotton. We're going to try and rip cotton apart and make it look all wispy to accompany our Bob Ross style stormy night sky. So we're going to have the 2D painting effect and the 3D clouds. So I think that'll look pretty cool. So that's pretty nice, guys. Yeah. And this black right here is, remember the foam board has that black backing? I peeled off as much as I could, but some of them are kind of stuck on there. But little paint, and that won't even be noticeable. But we have a nice looking stone there, and we got to carry it over. See how it's not really well carried? And this totally gives away the foam effect versus up here. See how I carried it? It looks a little bit better. So let's carry this effect here all the way down so it looks more for real. I'm like putting in the details in the easy areas, so if I jack up, the main areas, there's still enough details to look good. And I'm trying to do this without really cracking too much of the styrofoam around the edge. Now, for any weird seams that we end up with, like here, this will probably be covered in our cliffing, because if you look at the picture, the cliff almost becomes part of the castle as that cliff moves up. They're kind of like I am Borg type of situation going on there. The castle's like assimilated with that cliff a little. So we're going to try and mimic some of that. So it doesn't matter that some of the ends here are not really straight. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. We're going to try and get that cliff to kind of meld mind meld with this castle right here and see how it works out. But I'm thinking that is looking pretty good, and any weird seams that I'm left over with in the end, I'll grab a little spackle, and we saw how well that works for stone effect, but it's great for filling in these seams right there, and anything along the edge here. Most of this is just marker. It's not a seam, it's just magic marker from where we cut, and the spackle does a great job. And I even thought of like not really doing anything with this and just spackling this and being done with it. But then I really liked this little border effect. And I'm like, man, we can probably do, here I go again with mitering, but trying to cut like a triangle that kind of goes in here, and then we create some of these stones. So I'm gonna try that, but first let's see if we can tackle some of this roof situation going on. And again, I'm gonna leave this roof bare. I'm not gonna put a border on it just yet. until we do the roof. And then if I need to hide anything, I have that option. If I put it on there now, then I won't be able to, it'll be tougher to hide. So let's figure this out. And I guess the way we're going to work is build the thing that is furthest away. And then as we build up, you know, so if you were to be looking at the faux window, the background, and then we're going to build the castle in 3D up like this. So I'd be looking at the painting like this. Much like we did the Bob Ross, where we painted the sky and then we layered on the moon and layered on the clouds. You know, I found that he works by painting the background first and then starting to add foreground items later in the painting. So we're going to do the same. So we're going to check out Castle Frankenstein here and try and figure out what is the thing that is the most in the back. And to me, I think that that is the center tower in the very center of the castle, and that's the thing most in the back. And Frank Nook has joined us. He said, this is great. Thanks for doing this today. Yeah, nothing like a Monday for foam miniature. It's Miniature Mondays. There we go. All right, so I think I'm going to start with that central thing there, and I'm busting out that little piece, and he's going to be back there. Now, of course, he's got a nice tower going on, and I'm going to back us on up, and I might move myself. Whoa, the wrong way. That is not backing up. So this is that centerpiece, and you can tell this is looking kind of like wimpy because it doesn't have that portion, that big kind of castle thing. We're going to add that. I guess it's not a castle thing. I guess it's a tower topper, you know, like a cake. But so I just did the chimney portion of it, or the tower portion of it, just to kind of have a placeholder, and we'll add that stuff later. So the trick now is to position it. Where is it along the castle? How high is it along the castle? So, and the castle may actually have to, you know, turn or move in comparison. And this is where it gets like to be pretty much a hot mess, but we'll figure it out. I have confidence in us. And so I am just kind of looking here. How would this parallel? And I think something like, that's not right, but this is. If this were kind of like this. Sorry guys, this is gonna be a bit till I just figure. I think I like it like right here. Yes, that looks nice. Because then I'd get a nice sharp roof line. And Castle Frankenstein. The castle's kind of like that. See how I'm lifting it? It's on an angle. And so I assume this would also be, that angle actually looks pretty good. Because, aha, so that center tower has to match this angle. So it's almost, maybe the castle has to be like this. Yes, I do believe. All right, I'm going to not move and show you guys what I have kind of discovered. So, I'll put myself, oh no. Let me see if I can move. All right, so one of the things I noticed in the picture, maybe that's a little bit much, was that this surface right here needs to be at the same angle as this surface right here. So if I move it kind of like that, I'm not going to do it like exact, but something like this, I think that's the right angle. And I'm going to flip back to the castle. So yeah, that surface and this surface of the castle seem to be facing the same angle, I guess is how you call it. So I'm going to start gluing on some toothpicks or some very little popsicle sticks to connect the tip of this roof line here with this little corner right there. And then this corner, actually, no, I might be lying to you guys. Let me take another look at the castle here. Ah, yes. So I wasn't lying. This roof line tip needs to connect to this little guy here. So he could actually live more like that. Yes. And I know this may not make any sense, and I'm looking at the monitor now, and yeah, this looks pretty bad, but I'm gonna go with it. So while kind of holding this, and maybe I can find a little wedge just to kind of maintain the angle or not. Ooh, this guy's good. I'm gonna maintain angle. Maybe he needs to go here. There we go. So that is pretty good. And then if I add another little buddy back here. Oh yeah, now we're talking. And he's a little wobbly. So I'm going to, that didn't do anything. I'm like using all the scrap. One of the things with foam is every time I clear the table, I always like regret it because there was that little scrap I could have used for something. So I'm just gonna shove this further in so it's not in our way. And this guy's gonna be about there. Now I'm gonna get up so we know things are serious, because now I am getting, is the top part called a castle rampart is what David Beck. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with what you just said because that sounds correct. The castle rampart it would be the place where I think like where the tower and the lookout people would be, and they're seeing like any invasions going on below, which in our case would be all the pitchfork townspeople. You know, we've got to watch out for them. So guys, I'm thinking that looks pretty good. Now this angle has to match this angle, which it clearly doesn't. You know, I think for these angles to match, unless I take this guy and I flip him like this, guys. If I just kind of flip him like that, now this angle matches this angle right here. I think that looks pretty good. Which means this piece is a little short, but we can fix that. We can fix that. Because like that, if it were to stay like that, then our castle would have to be more like this, and that's kind of too angled for me, even though it is correct. So something like that. And I'm going to take one more peek at this, and it's not like 100% that angle. Like I'm trying to use like 90-degree, you know, architectural, but I may actually end up just leaving this as is. And I'm liking where that is, just like that. Because this, what I'm noticing is that this little point here intersects this corner right here. And so it's sitting right above that corner. And I think we have our castle mostly, you know, it's a little wobbly, but I think I'm gonna go with it. And let's start using these little, I guess they're coffee stirrers, to start connecting the roof line. And I had said that this tip needs to match this outer tip right here. So it kind of has to go like that. And let me mark where we're gonna cut this thing. We're gonna use some light gluing to start getting things in place. So very carefully, people, very carefully. All right, that line is kind of blobby, but we're gonna go with it. And let me see the best way for cutting this. I wonder if I can cut it with scissors. It's kind of thin. And hold both ends like that. All right, that did it. So I think once we get one of them in place or two of them in place, then it's gonna start to then we're going to be cooking. All right, now my castle fell over. Let me get it resituated. All right, I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but we're doing it the Rachel way, which is what the heck. All right, so we have our castle positioned again, and here I go. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. I'm going to use this side first. we're going to put a little bit of glue on this area that we said it's got to match up with. Whoa. All right. All right, I'm going to get up, and I know this angle looks completely jacked up, but whoop, he came off. It's already like, this project sucks, I'm out. the little tower that will hold the rampart, as David Beck said, and I totally believe that that's what it's called. All right, so I think that's pretty much where we want him. So that's pretty good. We got, you know, a portion here done, and we can add another stick, because remember, this is going to be glued or, you know, attached to the back panel, so it's not like this thing has to withstand an actual storm. You know, once it's in there, it's not going to move much. So I'm going to put him here, and I'm going to cut a similar stick, and I probably should have measured this, but you know, it's me. We don't do such things. And I need more hands. I need one of you guys to like jump through the screen and hold this for me. I am just gonna guess and then cut it a little bit longer. I want it to go flying. All right. I'm gonna flip this guy around. This looks pretty funny. Wrong way. Be nice if you put the side with the actual glue. All right. I know it's all quiet because I'm concentrating, people. I'm concentrating on this. This is like the critical point. All right. Now we're only going to add a few popsicle stick, I guess, or coffee stir things on it, just to kind of keep it steady, and then we can start adding our shingles. But just get this guy, and then we're going to add a brace, because this is looking a little tumultuous, if you ask me. So he's just like barely hanging in there, like, help. All right, so now we're gonna create a roof line that goes something like this. Let me use up what I've been using up. I start cutting up a whole bunch of toothpicks or popsicle sticks. Now we need a roof line that goes like that. And I know this doesn't make sense right now, but it will. So I say, right? And to me, this is easier than trying to build it out of paper. I don't know why. I think building it out of paper is way easier, but for whatever reason, I just don't visualize it as well. Like, I put a couple sticks in place and then we can cover it with paper. So those of you that are master at the paper situation, then you guys are awesome. But alas, I am not. Let me just look at this castle situation here. Yes. All right. So let me just mark where I'm going to have to cut this sucker and give you guys a view of what the heck it is I'm doing. Like, what the heck? And then we might do all this and I'd be like, I screwed up, we gotta start over. But this is the kind of stuff that is difficult to build ahead of time, because then it's already built, you know, and before, you know, moving on, this is the kind of stuff we gotta kind of figure out. So as tedious as it may seem, it's kind of part of it. And I'm gonna flip this upside down. And, oh yes, right here. It's like it changed orientation on me. All right, so I hope that this was my piece. Put him here. And I'm just gonna douse a bunch of glue. Whoa. All right. The poor tower is gonna collapse because it's like, this glue is so heavy. I'm just gonna let that set there for a bit. And our roof is coming together. Whoop. So you guys can see there. And I'm gonna add one more popsicle stick, and that should hold things pretty okay. And then we'll start kind of forming the other side that goes off into the distance, and we'll cut it off at this thing, since we've determined that that is our sea level, if you will, you know, the very back of our painting, and then we're moving on up as we paint or build. We already did the painting. So let me get these wisps out of here. This is our glue wisps, and I think we're okay to move on. All right. I know this is like a lot of work, but I'm kind of glad we decided to go this way with the miniature castle and not just hook up the lightning detector to some lame screen, you know? So we have a few of you guys to thank. You know, I think David was the first one to have that, you know, kind of put that bug in my ear when you were like, are you going to see all that information on a tiny, tiny little screen this big? And I was like, yeah, sure I can. No, that's why I always have my glasses here like all the time, ready to go. All right, so I think it's time for another popsicle stick. And this thing is getting pretty sturdy, guys. It's, you know, good enough to kind of lay on top, and then we'll seam everything up. I may have to add an extension there, but we'll see. I may use my trick, my little border trick to close in any gaps, or spackle trick. So let's cut up another piece here and see where we are. I can probably finagle one here. And one of the things I definitely don't want to do is get this window. I have this little window here, and I don't want to get any glue in here. And when I cut him, I thought, ugh, he's awfully kind of up at the top, you know, but I was kind of following the picture at the time, and I figured when I cut it, I'll move it, you know, and I forgot I cut it according to the drawing. So I think what I'm going to do is put the glue on the stick so I don't end up obliterating that poor little window. Okay, guys, I'm taking bets. What are the chances that I'm going to obliterate that little window once I say I'm going to try not to obliterate that little window? You know, I'm letting the glue set up a little bit just so it doesn't bleh all over our little window. And let's see, I'm going to add a little glue here. Guys, I can't believe I've gotten this far without complete disaster, because your hands have to be so steady, and I'm like nervous, you know, trying to get this all together. And I'm just gonna be very generous here, bleh, with the glue, blah, 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 like in Hotel Transylvania, if you guys watch that cartoon. All right, because this is a long stream, I'm gonna get me a sip of water. Yeah, I am. And I'm gonna do it right in front of you guys. So this is my little Peanuts glass. I'm a huge Peanuts and Snoopy fan. Yeah, super rude, sorry. Eating and drinking. I should be having like a hungry man TV dinner and just eating fried chicken, getting my greasy fried chicken hands all over the piece. But hey, guys, we'd have an extra box if I did that in case we messed up any roofs. So, food for thought for later. Quite literally food for thought for later. All right, so this is looking pretty good here. Frozen mustache, you have the hands of a surgeon. Luckily, foam board is a lot less or a lot more forgiving. It's like no one's life is a danger here, you know? Maybe mentally, you know, it's like, ooh, what happened? I can't unsee that. But physically, I think we're all good. So you can see the roof starting to come together, and the idea is now with our shingles, we're gonna connect this little corner right here to this corner right here. But we'll do that with our shingles. I think it'll be a bit much if I try and do it. But one thing I might do is, now that we have these going here, I might add one more brace going this way. And I know that makes so much sense. I'm just like, you know, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to make a brace like this and like this. Oh, and the other thing, guys, while I can, this is the Castle Frankenstein window. This is his tower where all the magic happens. And it's kind of a tiny window. I mean, I was going to keep it like that to keep it accurate, but what do you guys think? Should we make this window bigger or not? I can always slice it a little bit bigger, but you know what happens. And then the whole thing goes. But if you think it should be bigger, let me know. And if you see the roof on top of the Frankenstein laboratory, it looks pretty nice. And so I think using some of these sticks, we're going to dilapidate it. Maybe a part of the roof is caved in, you know? And of course, Dr. Frankenstein, he ain't got time for that. He's got experiments to do. So I've been blabbing to allow this to set, and now it's gonna get quiet again, you know, as I super concentrate on getting this next one. So I think I wanted to add, oops. Is that coming off? Oh, hold on, let me glue that together. Oh. Please don't break, please don't break. Guys, oh, my finger's stuck on it. I saved it, guys. There we go. I'm just going to gently tap it in, tap it in. All right. Now we are going to put our brace, and I'm just trying to figure out where it's going to slip in behind. It's basically going to go like this and here. Because what that starts doing is creating, I need like a pointy device. It starts to create a line from this corner over here to this corner over here, and gives me a better guide for how the shingles are going to work. And maybe I should put them down here. Yes, I'm actually going to do that. So let me kind of mark where this needs to be. Something about here, and I just got to remember to cut that longer. Famous last words. And then I cut it right at the line. All right, so cutting it longer. I'm gonna go way longer because that side doesn't matter. Oh no, my precious piece went flying, guys. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go fish it out. I'm gonna stand and see if I can see it. I see it. I'm gonna get it. I'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, I found it. It was like right there, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to cut another piece. This piece was like, I think I cut it kind of perfect, so we're gonna see. I think it's glued to the table. I'm gonna use my Hungry Man. Oh, it's kind of on there. Ooh. Should I think I'm gonna do it. Oh, that wasn't bad. Okay, so it was kind of stuck. All right, I super got dramatized there. Too much drama. That was nothing. Crisis averted. All right, so that's pretty good there. So I had planned, you know, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. That was my planning for the worst. Because I actually did think of that as I was thinking, I'm going to use my work table as kind of like our sea level type of thing. And I'm like, what are the chances that I'm going to glue this dumb thing to the table? And I'm thinking pretty high, people. I am thinking pretty high. All right. Actually, that should probably go kind of like that. And I'm going to glue with impunity. And I'm going to glue the back, which is what got us in trouble in the first place. Because then it glues itself to the table. That's going to fill this gap in. Glue gun, the best invention ever. All right, that's wanting to move a little bit. See, it's like a little loose tooth. So I'm just going to hold it there until the glue dries. Or cools. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm just looking for something to move it about. There. That way it's encapsulated in glue, encased in glue. David Beck with a little ambulance. And yes, this is definitely a glue Band-Aid. That's a good way of thinking about it. All right. Oh, I think that's good. So you can see we start having our roof and we have a hole there. And we could do a cool thing and kind of leave that hole like shingle up and then kind of leave like as if there's a hole or falling portion of it. And we can see that our tower here, I'm just very, very gently tugging on it. It's pretty there. It's you know, it's kind of Cirque du Soleil. You know, you got to put all the trapeze artists kind of in the air and find a way to connect them all. It's kind of a floating castle with some of these parts. But once we connect it, it'll look pretty good. All right. So what is next? Let's take a look at some more roof lines here. And the other roof line, and we can maybe migrate ourselves over to the Castle Frankenstein roof, because then we can use that as a support for the roof in the back, which is not visible in this picture, but there's like I guess that little manor all the way on the right, you know, that roof connects all the way almost to the Frankenstein tower, but it's all the way in the back. So we're going to have to do that. But I think we can do the Castle Frankenstein one. And that one has kind of a cool curvature to it. That one I may actually do in paper. Oh, but I have an idea. I have an idea, people. I have an idea for that. We're going to not do it in paper. We're actually going to do something similar to this. And figure out, where's my other little piece? And that tower in the center, is that the tallest thing? Yes. So Castle Frankenstein's roof, Frankenstein's tower's roof top cannot exceed once we put that rampart in. So I think I have to go more like this. And let me give you guys a better idea of what I'm talking about. Got to angle it back. Lean back like that. Yep, just like that. And I'm wondering if there's a way to cut these in half, kind of like this, because I have an idea. Let's see if this works. It just dawned on me. And yeah, these are pretty thin, so they cut pretty easily. And I'm going to pick another one. That one's kind of short. I might need one that's a little bit taller. Oh, that's not an even cut. One is really skinny and one is not. I'm trying to fix it. Trying to fix it. All right. Oh, that's not coming along. One more pass. All right. So the idea is to get this triangle shape and figure out where I want it to end. And while holding it, we're going to try and mark it, which is great. I wonder if I should, nah. Maybe do it this way, yeah, much better. I can start long and then always cut it short. Oh, it's like fighting me off screen. So, I think something like if it ended like that, that's probably good. I'm gonna cut it here. That's the worst measuring. Oh, luckily that didn't go too far. And I think I'm gonna do this and this, these little rabbit ears. So we're just gonna go for it. Actually, it may be better if I glob these two together. Yes. Let me move this out of the way because that's just disaster waiting to happen. I think I'll put a glob here because I should have enough flex. I'm going to glob one end and then glob it to the other. Probably not the most strongest hold, but we're going to go for it for now. And I'm just kind of eyeballing the castle next to me. And let these two set up. This is as exciting as watching glue dry. Quite literally. Oh my gosh. But I'm always torn because figuring this out ahead of time, well, then we'd start the stream and the roof would pretty much be already done, you know, because there's no way to really do this without actually gluing the pieces together. You kind of have to glue them together. And then it's a one and done. All right, I'm going to wrap it in glue a little more. And let it do its thing. We need some like glue drying music. Maybe not that kind of music. Maybe some rock. Yeah, some glue drying rock and roll. All right. Oh, almost. I can touch it. And then I think what I'm going to do is glue each side of the stick to the side here. Let me prep. And let's see, our top here, we don't want this roof to really exceed that. So I'm going to put him here. Out of the way. And touch him here. We're just getting like the teepee of it. There's like so much glue that I'm like, this better be right, this angle, because this ain't coming out. And yeah, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I'm convinced. I am convinced. And I'm going to do the same here. And put him over here. getting in there with the glue. Then you get like glue skin. Whoop. I'm getting little glue fuzzies. All right, I'm gonna hold, ow! I'm gonna hold this against this wall, and I'm gonna do the same here. I'm gonna put some glue, and then I'm gonna hold that against that wall, and we're just going to sing the glue drying song. Now. Hopefully none of this is copyright songs that I'm singing, and then YouTube is like, shut your stream down. But nope, looks like it's still going, so I'm good, at least so far. All right, so once we get the frame for this Frankenstein tower, then things are going to get a lot easier. The frames for these are always the toughest. But if we were building a real miniature with all four walls, the roofs are a lot easier to do. Then you can just build them out of foam core. You can decorate the foam core, or you can do the shingles on top of the foam core, or just use cardboard. The angles are much easier. It's like 90 and 45. That's pretty much the only angles you need to know for, you know, building a real four-cornered, unless you're building towers and hexagonal type of contraptions. But for the most part, and I think that's pretty good there. So see, we have our little roof line, and we are going to continue that. Let's see, is this a free floating roof, or does this roof go off into our sea level? Let's see, what's our surface level? No, it's pretty much a complete roof, so we're gonna have to build a complete roof for this one. Let's see. Which means I'm going to have to add some kind of side foam for this thing. Which is fine. We can do that. We've done much tougher, which is this part right here. So the other thing we're going to do is do this exact same thing in the back and connect this little, this corner here with this corner here. Now, artistically, this corner is, you know, it's going to be kind of a weird looking roof because artistically this sloping wall here kind of becomes part of the cliff, and so the roof is going to be a little bit weirdly skewed, but that's okay. I think we can figure it out. Let's see, or if there's a way I can fake a couple things here. I might be able to fake something by putting this here and extending our roof into the cliff in the back, which is what I think I'm going to end up doing. Yep. Yepers. And then we're going to need a piece that goes, you know, the spine of the roof that goes back like that. Or I don't know that there's a good way for me to show you guys this, but the spine that goes back like that, connecting the roof. So I think I will move on with that. We still have couple pieces here. And maybe adding a center piece here might be a move, just to give it more rigidity. And I'll do that. Stay there. Try the other end. Trying to use all my scraps. There we go. Then I'm going to turn this around. Oh, don't pop out. Don't pop out. It's quiet for the concentration. This is the most globby roof ever. There. Now it's staying. Let's get you to stay. And then I will turn you around, put a little bit of glue. All right. Man, from the back, this thing looks like a disaster. It really does. So we're just gonna like look at it in this view. It doesn't look as bad. You know, I know depends on your opinion of how this is going. So we have kind of the framework for the roof there, and I'm going to now lay. Maybe I can use some fatter pieces. And laying this on its side like this, which is like really tough to kind of see what's going on here, but I don't want anything to really be deeper than this guy here. So I'm going to make sure to trim all my pieces such that we're not doing that. So something like that is a little long, but I think we can trim. And let me just get the angle right here, and it's angles downward a little bit. That very top of the roof line angles down. So we're going to do the same there. We're doing totally the same. Not. Okay, so what I'm doing here is kind of using this angle here as a guide. But I know that the roof is not as extreme, so I don't want to like totally match that angle. But see, that would be matching it, this angle where my thumb is right here. But that's a bit much, so I'm just gonna do this. So you can see that's kind of the upper spine of the roof, and I'm going to put another toothpick on the other side, just so. Let's see, do I have one of the same? No. These all look pretty. Oh, am I out of the really thin ones? I am. So I'm going to cut a much bigger one down in half, just to kind of match that. Oh, you run out of ways to put this thing. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. Ooh, this one's much thicker. Let me see if I have a thinner one like this one, like we used for our fart meter project, our fartatukas project, which actually does get use, because now the puppy, she can put it out. And so we've actually had a lot of fun of putting it near her, and it is a stuffed animal, so she wants to go play with it all the time. And then it starts to activate, especially when she falls asleep. Then that thing is like going off. That way you can safely say, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Look, it's her. Let's see if we can, oh, there we go. Crack this thing. And I'm going to try and match up the same size. Wrong way. All right. Oh, there we go. So it doesn't go flying like it did. All right, let's see if I can glue the other half of the roof. The side, basically these sticks act as a guide as to how our shingles are gonna go. Our little shingle papers from our TV dinner. Or soup, split pea soup in my case. I'm just getting some excess glue off my fingers. All right. So this is the Castle Frankenstein roof line going on. I know this angle, this just looks like nothing going on right here. It's a little awkward, but I think it needs to turn this way. Uh-oh. Don't break. There we go. Don't break. All right, let me take one more look. And yes, it is looking pretty good. And I'm gonna put another support. I mean, it almost looks kind of neat just with the popsicle sticks. It looks all decrepit and stuff. So I think I'm gonna glue this to about here. It's a bottom brace. And it's totally off camera for you guys, which is super helpful, I know. All right, there's my line. I'll brace it against the table. Hopefully it won't fly. All right, now which piece was it? The piece that went flying or this piece? It looks like this piece. So I'm gonna glue this like this. Glue gun overboard. Ow, 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 ow. On the inside. This thing's gonna be so filled with glue that the electronics are like, ain't room for me. Where am I gonna put the LEDs? Because it'll just be full of glue by the time we're done. All right. So I know this looks jacked up, but I can see it. I can see it. I think I can see it. So I'm gonna add another piece like this to this side, and I think we have a good frame for our Frankenstein laboratory. And then we can move on to maybe this side of the manor, or find a way to connect this roof with this castle or this tower here, Dr. Frankenstein's tower. So I think we'll do that first while everything is just kind of being formulated. And let's see, I can probably use this piece right here and do the same, and see how that already connects this part of the roof with the Frankenstein part of the roof, the laboratory. So I just need to snip a little bit of this off because we don't want it to be going further back than our thing there. So our tower that we deemed is the most in the back. So it literally just needs a tiny little trim. Right there, I'm talking a hair. So let's trim that sucker. And same deal. We're gonna have some floating sticks because these floating parts are going to connect to the back panel anyways, so there's no sense in building the entire back side of the building if basically the backing panel is the back side of the building. Ooh, getting it all over myself. All right, and then you can imagine this portion is going to be here. Like that. And so this roof line is going to go, towards the back like that, creating kind of a gap. And we have to see how tall is this tower? Is it above our rampart, which is going to go here? Or is it below it, So quick peek. Oh, it's below it. It's even below where the rampart starts. So I think I would put it right there. Something like that. Because then we have, still a little roof to put there. And those are cone roofs, which are much easier. I'm going to cut them out of paper or maybe a little bit out of that box, and then we'll just make a point. I'm doing the toughest part first, which are these really crazy roof lines. And those of you that do miniatures for a living are probably looking at this like, cannot believe this is the most complicated way of doing it, but it's the way that makes sense for me. Because cutting out 90-degree roof lines, as you can see, is just not going to work by the way these angles are. And so we're kind of creating artistic roofs, kind of like in the matte painting. So the perspectives are a little bit interesting there. So I think this is dried enough here. And I think I can start connecting this back piece and get this thing going right there. This gappage. So let's try that. I'm going to cut another strip from our popsicle stick here. Maybe something like that. And maybe I should use the bigger one, the bigger knife. I'm sitting there using the tiny little craft knife or even the X-Acto knife. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me, kind of hanging out with me during the build, you know. This build is what it is because of a lot of your guys' idea of how to approach things, or maybe add some cool features, or maybe there's a feature you don't like so much, you know, then we take it away. So I think it's all good. All right, so this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to connect this, whoop, if you guys could see, this portion here with this portion over here. So kind of like that. And let's see if I can get a, actually this roof has to probably be more like this so we don't bombard. Yes, it's gotta be like that. Let me try and mark it. So I would say my biggest obstacle is not having enough hands. That's probably the toughest part of this build. I am not gonna lie. And rather than cutting this where everything goes flying all over the place, I think I am just going to try to craft knife it with the correct knife. Something a little more beefy. All right. Go. Something. Trying to like look over. So that portion is gluing, and I'm going to try and uh-oh, did it glue too much already? All right, there we go. Oh. Oh no, the glue went the wrong way. Gravity, curse you. There we go. Got a big old glob on myself. Then I can probably add something here. Gloop. Gloop. That glue. Oh, just don't get in the windows. For God's sake, don't get in the windows. Let's see if I can put this thing down without completely ruining it. Join these two together, and they're like, hell no, we don't like each other. We don't want to be joined together. There. Hopefully this roof doesn't look so jacked up. But let's see. I think this is the nicer view of it. But you can see kind of what I'm going for here, as kind of jacked up as it is, but so how we did this guy right here, we're gonna do one on this side now. And this side's a little bit jacked because it kind of goes into the cliff. So I'm just gonna maybe make it long, and then it can figure itself out. can figure out how it's gonna connect. So I'm gonna do the same thing and just kind of so carefully put that down and measure out a good roof line. So that's gonna connect there. And I'm going to mark him about there. Oh, let me use the craft knife so this thing doesn't go flying. Is it enough to crack? It is. And I'm going to match up where this guy is. And I probably should have put these first and then put this spine in later, but it is what it is. Whoa, don't fall. Come back here. Where are you going? Running away. So it needs to go there. And I'm just gonna hold that until it dries. I've been trying to rush it and not wait all the way, and then it kind of comes undone, and I'm like, no. All right, so David Beck says, being an engineer, I enjoy doing the artsy stuff. Yes, it's sometimes it's nice to kind of bend the rules a little bit. It's not so rigid, you know. And then I think it'll end up coming out kind of cool looking, you know. I think we'll capture some of the weird dimensions of the painting, but then have some of the more 90-degree angles that I created to fall back on to kind of keep this whole project together. Because as I was envisioning the roof lines with the original angle we had, the roofs were all going to be kind of crooked, and that kind of throws your eye off when you're used to seeing all the spines of the roof going in the same orientation, and when they all start getting crooked, it makes the whole building look crooked. And in that drawing or that matte painting that they used at the time, I don't even think it was a miniature. I think it was just a painting from what I read that they slapped on there, like a lot of the movies at that time. So they were able to take more artistic straying from actual building. But I think this is looking pretty good, and I'll give you guys a much better view once this, I'm going to use my finger to kind of spread this glue around. Ow, ow, ow. I'll give you guys kind of a look at how this is turning out. And then once we lay those shingles across, it's going to hide all this really horrible looking popsicle stick business. But we kind of need these to anchor our shingle roof too. So they kind of need to be there. And for this one, because I do want some holes going through the roof, ooh, I got like little cobwebby things, you know, from the glue gun going everywhere. So I'm going to have to make sure I clean all that off before I paint it, because nothing looks worse than like a whole bunch of cobwebby, you know, things on top of your piece. So looking at it from this angle, you can see like the spine here kind of gets split, because instead of building the spine first, I built the front, and I needed a place to anchor them. So, you know, the shingles, they're going to extend beyond this a little bit, so all that is going to be covered up. So looking at our angles there, see, we kind of have a dramatic roof, and now we're going to connect this roof with this existing roof over here in my big old hands. It's might as well be saying we're going to connect this to like this, you know. It's like, what does she mean? All right, so let's see here. I think, ooh, I have an idea, guys. I think I'm going to do that, because this building right here, you know, it has its roof that goes like that, and it meets up with the Frankenstein roof. So that's how we can connect this this whole mess together, doing it just that way. And then this will extend where my thumb is to connect the other whole right half of the building. And we are going to have some things that jut out beyond, you know, I said this is our most backest piece, And as you can see, there are a couple toothpick situations going on, not toothpick, but popsicle stick situations going on that are poking beyond that. But I want this to really dry before I go in, probably with tin snips, and just get them really, really easily. So I'm not struggling with it and the whole thing just starts to pop off. So what did I say we're doing? Yes, I just remembered. We are going to connect the two roofs like that. And that'll be pretty good. And then it'll give me another place to anchor another plank to the stick here. And then that should be enough to give us the angles we need to put in our little shingles. All right, water break. All right, so let's see how big this needs to be, because we don't need the back of the roof, so we just need this. And I'm going to flip this around, and in order to anchor everything, I think I'm going to connect this tower with the whole thing. Just do a whole thing like this, and we should be good. So something to about here. Oh no, it's drying because I left the cap off. This cap off just comes right off. Like you can put it in and then it's just one of those really loose caps. All right, I'm gonna, oh, there it is. I'm like, my line has gotten really faint. So I'm cutting mostly at the line. I'm a little off, but that's okay. We're just getting an idea here. And yeah, this is like nice and sturdy. So we're pretty good there. And this is just going to add to the sturdiness of it all. And I'm wondering if I should put it in the front or in the back. I'm going to put it in the back. So let's do that. And let me just look at the angle of the roof line real quick. Boop. Which you can't even see because the tower is obliterating it. So we're just gonna go with what I think, which I think something like this will be fine. Yes, we're gonna go for it. All right, a little bit of glue. Oh no, I thought I lost my piece. It's like the same color as my workbench. This looks pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie, guys. This whole popsicle stick situation here. But hopefully it's what I think it's gonna work out as. I'm like envisioning it already, and I think it's gonna look pretty good. So I have high hopes. Just kind of putting glue all over the place. And let that glue up before moving on. Unlike I always do. I always move on and then it comes apart. Then we gotta backtrack. So more holding the glue music. Dee 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 dee. That's Girl from Ipanema. Oh no, copyright. Oh no. Am I still on? Yes, I am. All right. YouTube didn't notice yet, so I just sung a copyright song. As long as I don't have the whole band in the back with me, then I think we're okay. And it was all off key, so YouTube was like, I can't make out what you're singing. It's just pretty bad. It's like, don't give up your day job. Don't sing. All right, so this is looking much better. See? So we have now this roof line connecting to a tower Frankenstein, I'll call it. I keep calling it Castle Frankenstein, but the whole thing is Castle Frankenstein. So that's Tower Frankenstein. And that'll allow us to put our little roof shingles there. And let's see. I think I'm going to now add a support beam in the middle and one on the other side. And I think we're done with the Castle Frankenstein roof framing for now. And then we're going to try and figure out this other situation. We still have this tower here that's on this side of the castle. And there's a wall that kind of connects them. But I'm leaving that for last because that's somehow going to integrate with our Borg cliff situation. It's going to assimilate into the cliff somehow. So this is probably the last portion that I'm going to deal with. And we're probably going to move on and deal with this little guy right here. And there's a lot in this area that's not visible in the painting because it's just behind stuff, you know. So we're just kind of building the stuff that we can see and either having to put in additional walls, like see I put in this additional wall to connect here, or else it would be at the same level and that just didn't look right. I think it needs to be, you know, to match the painting a little bit more. It needs to be kind of like that. And of course this is not going to be flat like this. It's actually going to have to sit in an angle. So this is going to be another glue and hold, and I might put some bracing in the back just to kind of help maintain that angle so we're not just relying on that glue. A little scary. And if I'm recalling correctly from the painting, then this guy juts out. Now, the face of him and the face of this are angled the same, you know, so they have to kind of, you know, it can't be like this or too much like this. They have to kind of angle the same. And it seems like their roof lines here are kind of at the same level. So it's going to look something like this with some simple glue. And then we have, I'm going to put him down for a bit. We have a bridge. And the bridge kind of like, it's a little weird. It kind of comes out because this is the main entrance to the castle. So it kind of is like here or here, and it connects to this little guy. So it's like that, and then there's a road here that assimilates into our cliff. So that little road is just going to get kind of carved. So we're going to bury this in more styrofoam a little bit, but we're going to put some details on him as well. So now that we have more of these big old roofs done, let's do the, let's do the old support. Like I said, in the middle there's a support, and let me mark him this time with a pencil because my other thing is pretty much running out. And whoop, it'd be nice if you guys could see it, right? I'm going to cut him right about there. Maybe cut him a little longer. And by cut, I mean using a craft knife. Right. So what I'm going to do is add a stream for tomorrow after we get these big chunks done. So we can totally finish this miniature this week and get it painted. We're painting on Friday because we should be able to paint everything once it's put together in one day. It's not that. It's actually, that's the fun part. And then on next week, we start the whole lighting. And that's why I was asking you guys about themes and things like that. Ambient lighting for when there isn't a storm. It'd be nice to enjoy some lighting on Castle Frankenstein here. So because it is at night at all times, because we painted it that way, I'm thinking of using maybe lighter colored blue. So maybe it's like getting night for ambient. And then a flickering amber light to show Frankenstein kind of working in his lab the whole time. And for thunderstorms, well then, yeah, that's where the fireworks happen with our EL wire and our lightning clouds. And so we're going to be wiring all that up next week. So we want this thing to be painted, mounted in place, so we can figure out where we're going to put all of our LEDs and make our clouds. And so we'll be able to get this thing in place by Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm just holding. This is so exciting, guys, I know. It's still wiggling. When it's still wiggling like a tooth, then you know it's not ready yet. It's not ready. And more glue? Why, yes. Why not? You know? I still have a whole like a trough here to fill with glue. And then I just have to make sure none of these little wisps are in my windows. So I'll do like a nice cleanup once we're done here. And I think I'm going to wait to put the shingles on last because we're going to be handling this a lot and they're going to start to get bent. And after these, after we build these sticks, you know, I only have one more to put on. I think I want to try and tackle that rampart, you know, and that's what we're calling it. You know, I'm not quite sure what that little tower on top of the tower thing is called on castles. And I don't have a easily internetable situation here. But one of you guys said, I think it was David, said it was a rampart. So we're going to go with that. All right, so now we have, let's see if I can, I know it's like how to flip it to show you guys. So see how we have a 1, 2, 3 supports, and we're just gonna do the same. See, this one only has 2, and we're gonna put a third one in there. And then David said that I'll put my ideas on Discord later for the ambient lighting. Yes, definitely do. And I noticed that not all of you guys are on Discord. A lot of you guys message me through social media, and that's totally fine. Continue doing that. But Discord allows you to post more pictures. We can keep the conversation going about in between streams what we do. I also post, there's a video up there of how, you know, I did this whole thing. So definitely get on there. I'll write up a quick tutorial in case some of you are having trouble connecting your accounts. Am I out of popsicle sticks? Yes, I am. But you need not worry. I have an entire bag here. So let me whip this out. These are really inexpensive to get, you know, just online. I usually buy them by like, here's like 100 of them so we can make a ton of mistakes, you know. But hopefully not. We are, ooh, these are thicker. These are a little thicker. Hopefully not. I think that we are making some good choices so far, you know. We'll see, you know, but I think it's looking pretty good. See? You can see it's looking, I almost like the popsicle stick look. Looks kind of, you know, falling apart. So, ooh, guys, check this out. This is like that kind of, not cardboard, but a TV dinner box material. I'm gonna put this one aside. You know, we might need some more. So, oh yes, we were doing this thing right here. One more support. So let me cut this guy right here. Let me cut a strip. Chicken strip. Chicken tenders are sounding good about now. Chicken tenders. We sat there talking about Hungry Man TV dinners for so long. Remember the little tray tables too that you would put right in front of your sofa? Love those. Oh my gosh. And then you fold them up and then stack them on the side of the wall anytime so they're ready anytime you need them. I don't think I have a TV dinner tray anymore. All right, so I'm going to do this. But those are some good memories, people. Love me my TV dinners. And I remember when it was like TV dinner night, it was like every Friday or something where, you know, your parents are just tired of cooking and they're like, here you go, eat something. And that was always the night we looked forward to. Not that my mom's cooking was bad. It was very good. My parents are actually from Brazil. So we had a lot of Brazilian cooking, which is a lot of meat. You basically eat meat every day. So I can't complain there. But, which way does this go? But the TV, something about the TV dinners, no offense, you know, to the parents out there. They were just good. All right. And I'm just gonna have to hold this here for a bit. Super boring, I know. Oh my gosh, David Beck with his drumsticks. I'm like reaching out and eating emojis. That's when somebody has to like call the authorities, like, this woman is eating emojis. Feed her. She's starving. All right. Just when you think you have enough glue, you add more glue so you can watch it dry some more. All right. And looking while I hold this at the side of this, my artistic angular thing, it probably is a good idea for me to add another piece of styrofoam. So what I can do is trace this and just add a piece here and kind of glue them together. And because that's towards the back, no one is really gonna see that. And then David is saying, oh, Fogo de Brasil. Yes. So there's a restaurant which you may be referring to called Fogo de Chão, which is a Brazilian style restaurant. And they come around with these like big pieces of meat on these giant skewers, and they cut these meats. It's very medieval times, you know, very like medieval steakness going on, but it's awesome, you know. And you can pick your cuts of steak, and they come with these giant swords. They have those restaurants just about everywhere. And I know Texas is steak country. Of course, you know, barbecue and all that. So the last time I was in Texas, I had very little time. It was like a business trip, very quick. But I happened to be driving by it was called Crazy 8 or something like that. And it was a barbecue joint, and it was just a giant grill, and you just go down buffet style, but you know, you don't grab the meat, and they just put meat, a ton, ribs, chicken, whatever you want. And then you pay by the pound. Well, obviously, I ended up with a dish like this big. I wanted everything, and we didn't quite strategize how to pack it all in. Yeah, it was kind of a disaster. But I took it back to my hotel room, and late night, I was like, oh, you know I did. I ain't throwing that away. I'm like, I gotta find a way to, you know, stuff this in. All right, so we have our, back to Frankenstein. We went on a food journey there. It's like a food TV show there for a second. We have our braces there and our braces there, and see how we have kind of our structure there. I left the back naked because this is just gonna like go right onto our panel. So I don't really think we need anything there. You know, I think we're good. And then we'll see. I might actually just add, that's pretty, you know, I was thinking of maybe adding like a structure from here to here, you know, just to kind of brace it further, but I think we're okay. And I want to wait until I see what's going on, because when we put this against our night sky here, the last thing we want is for there to be like gaps, because once we add our ambient flicker light, you know, if that's what we end up doing, and of course, get on Discord, guys, and give me all of your ideas. Sometimes, you know, I'll do a poll, like we did with the whole monster house situation here. But the last thing we want is there to be gaps here, and then the LED light comes out the side of the house. That kind of ruins your whole effect. I mean, on the one hand, it is kind of cool to have like, it almost creates like a halo around the house. So that could be cool, you know, a flickering halo. I'm not gonna say, but if we were to seal it, then it keeps the light inside the manor, you know, the Young Frankenstein's castle. So that's another thing to think about. Post your opinions on having the ambient glow, or if you just wanna seal it inside the castle there. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna put probably an LED in here, and then probably this little tower is probably going to need his own LED. But right here, we have a series of windows right there. And I'm thinking if I put the LED kind of like right here, it'll light this window the strongest. Like we see in our photo here, painted matte painting. You can see that castle, the Frankenstein's tower, is got the brightest light because he's up late at night working through storms, through sunshine, through all of that kind of stuff. So I think if I put one here, it'll glow that the brightest, and then it'll spill over into the other windows. So we'll see how that goes, and we still have to carve out some windows on this guy, but it's not super urgent right now. So I think the next thing I'd like to tackle is the rampart, which goes on top of this thing. So let's take a look at what that looks like, and then we can add on these other pieces later. And also this needs a ton more decoration. We added our side border pieces, but you can see that the windows are looking kind of jacked. They're just kind of naked looking. So I definitely want to add a stone border around each window, and that's just cutting really thin pieces of styrofoam or foam board. And then there's a border that goes straight right across these windows, kind of unifying them. And then there's another border that goes straight across there if you look at that painting. And then we have these tiny little windows here that I'm going to, you know, have to get creative on adding borders. I might have to bust out the tweezers to get that done. So let's try out this rampart, because I think that's going to be the toughest part. The rest is pretty easy. You know, this is just creating another roof line, just like we did here. And it's basically just connecting the whole thing together. So we got that. We're masters now at that. And then this is basically going to wait for our cliff. And he's going to live over here, you know, off screen, so you guys totally can't see him. But he's going to live somewhere over here. And we're going to put this on our cliff and cut that out too. So after we finish up our rampart, then it's, you know, these kind of guys there. So we have like the little stuff. This part is the hardest. This roof center portion here I knew was going to be the hardest thing. So I figured I'd tackle that with you guys. The rest is just a repeat of what we're already doing, right? So no need to see that over and over and over again. Like cutting shingles. All right. So I've been procrastinating enough on purpose. If you guys have noticed, I'm like, I'm just going to keep talking so we don't have to do this part. But no, we're going to tackle this. All right. So I'm going to take a look at it in our matte painting, Castle Frankenstein. And let's see. Maybe Frau Blucher lives in that little rampart area there. And here I should put some background noise. I should have some sound effect buttons with the little horses neighing every time I say her name, or anytime any of you guys like type a comment, I should have that. So that's something to work on for the future. All right. So it looks like that rampart is wider than the tower holding it, you know, obviously. So I kind of have an idea for that. And then it's got these little conical little towers that come off of each corner. And I think I have an idea for that. And then the roofs for the little conical towers and the main rampart there are cone-shaped. They appear cone-shaped to me. So I think I'm going to make them out of paper. Super easy. Just take some card stock and we're going to roll it into a cone. So I think that's how we'll handle that, and then put the shingles on top of that. So rampart. Let me see what we got going on here. Now, I like to keep scraps. You know, this table has been a hot mess for days now, but I like keeping them because these are the little things that sometimes are the perfect piece. Because look at this angle. I mean, I don't think I could have cut that angle on purpose. Heck no, on purpose, that's for sure. So I think I'm going to do that, and that's going to allow us to give us the bump out we need for our rampart piece. And so I think first, ooh, I have a better idea. I'm going to do this and then put this on top. Yes. So let me just see if this idea will work. I'm going through it on my head. On my head, in my head. Oh, wrong way. And I know this makes no sense. It's like, what is she doing? Jeez. And then some of this wall trim decor that we did before, I have some extra there. So what I could do too is glue this like that. But I'm kind of liking the idea. Oh, I had an even better idea. And so let me bust out. I'm going to keep these guys close by. And these are toothpicks rather than popsicle sticks. I use those names interchangeably, you know, toothpicks and popsicle sticks. So let's see here. I thought it might be cool to have kind of, you know, if we cut them real short, like wood beams holding up this rampart here. And I think it would make our situation a little easier. So I am going to have to grab some more foam core, and I'm trying to decide if I should use this purple stuff or if I should use, I think I'm going to stick with my foam core. I've been having a lot of good luck with that, and I'm going to cut a couple strips unless I have them here ready to go. Some good ones. I'm going to take a couple of them out and put them aside and save these for later because that's all of our trim pieces. Move these out of the way. So I'm going to try my first idea first. If you guys have ideas, definitely chime in. So that way we could compare and come up with the best plan, which is most likely your guys' plan versus mine. All right, so where am I going to cut? I'm just looking for like a nice smooth, here we go. That's looking pretty good. And I'm going to put that there and I'm going to back you guys on up. Whoop, wrong way. Back it on up like that. And I'm going to use a ruler. And the idea, I'm just going to cut a strip. Something that I believe will be the same width as our foam core is high. You know, so I'm going to try and cut like a perfect square, or mostly perfect square. And I want to try and go all the way down so that way we have a lot of excess. And if you cut all the way down, then you know this piece is going to be equi width to this piece and this piece. You all know what I mean. Equi width. That's fanciful. All right, now I'm going to try and let's do it with this guy. Hold the knife as perpendicular as I can and not cut at an angle or an angle like that because that's just that's gonna jack us up. So. Then I'm going to very carefully move our ruler so I can finish the cut up down here while maintaining the width. All right, how well did that cut? Ooh, very well. Look at that. So, I'm gonna bring back our little guy here. This is like making things so hard to see. It's like, I don't know what to focus on. There's just so much crap on the table. Yes. Yes, it is. There is. All right, so if you look at this, remember how I said I was going to cut straight? Don't lean the knife. The knife totally leaned because we have an angle. But I think it's a fortuitous mistake because that actually looks pretty good. I'm liking that. Because it's almost like you have your tower and then a little bit of an angle and then we can go up. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this black backing panel from our thing because it allows us to put our rock grooves in it. It's really tough to do it with this black backing panel, and the black backing panel doesn't respond well to our tin foiling very much. So we want to create that nice, as if it's stone texture. All right, so most of the black is off, and I'm gonna bring you guys into the club right there. I'll bring you guys into the club. And let me move this in a way that you can see, because we're gonna be working kind of like right here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is, where's that angle? There we go, I like that. See where, I'm gonna cut this a little long. Oh no, not the mitering. Because you see, I'm gonna have to make that corner there. So because we mitered this from the get-go, actually if that's a 90-degree angle, I might be able to, oh yeah. I am totally, I know, I'm gonna do a butt joint. I'm not even gonna miter this thing. There we go. You'll see what I mean. So let me stone it first, get the stone effect going on it, starting with, and I got glue wisps everywhere, like little magical fairy glue wisps. I'm gonna create a little bit of a stone texture, and because this is such a tiny little piece, I'm also gonna go at it with our wire brush. So, ooh, there goes my finger. I poked a hole right in my finger. So I keep the stone effect to the styrofoam, not the hands. All right, so this little guy, what did I say? He's kind of like over here, and I cut him pretty long. But let me add our big blocks of stone, as if these are giant stone. And because this is such a tiny little piece, I'm using the help of just not even scoring it. You just want to touch it, glide it across. And I've retracted my lead there so I can just use that blunt point and just gliding your knife across makes a big difference in the look. And you want to make sure you bring that stone border all the way down like that so you get a nice all the way stone. What's an all the way stone? A stone that's stone all the way around is what I mean by that. All right, so now I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to make them uneven. I'm not going to make them like perfect rectangles where, you know, each one of them is, you know, however many centimeters long. And I lost my line. I guess it's kind of over here. I'll cut another one. I can't see. There we go. That line I can see. All right, so you can see 3 stones there that I created, and I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of bevel this edge so it's not a sharp cut. Well, beveling it closer to you guys might be easier. And I'm gonna bevel this edge because it's a very, see it's pretty sharp cut, so this one's not as bad. I'm just gonna smoosh it, smoosh the end of that. And we're gonna glue it to our tower there to start our rampart. And you can see that this extends way long. So I'm gonna push it back and leave this little corner here and put it right about there. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of glue. I'm trying to use very little because in this case, unlike woodworking, I try and get the glue not to squeeze out the sides because then that's more glue we have to clean up, and that totally just makes your paint job not look that great. Now I just turning it towards me so I can make sure I have it aligned, and that's nice and blurry for you guys. It's probably because it's too close. It's like, knock it off. There we go. So I'm basically making sure that is flush with our original roof line there. And it is. And I left a little overhang here because I'm going to cut a piece that's going to butt right up to it rather than mitering it like you see I did here. Now, this was a pretty good miter. You know, we kept this angle, but rather than attempt to do something really good twice, I'm just going to take the easy route there. And then it's such a tiny piece anyways. So let's do the same. And we still have a lot of our strip here going on. So I'm going to take a little bit more. And let's see here. And just trying to get the angle right. And that's looking pretty good there. See how they meet up? And that seam, if we bevel the edges, it's just gonna look like 2 pieces of stone meeting each other. So it's awesome, guys. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm cheating. I'm cheating. Will I be able to get away with it? Hopefully. And all I'm doing here is just marking where I need to cut. And the marker, because I stuck the cap back on, it has rejuvenated itself. I'm putting that aside and cutting this guy. And let me recall, because it does, the side does matter. Let me, yeah. Is it that side? Where is it? Okay, so that's where I measured it. It's gotta be like that. Yes, yes it is. See, nice and seamless. So, knowing that this is the front, I'm going to just very gently use our stoner, our stone effect device here. It's super high tech. And maybe a little bit of this. Oh no, there we go. Now I think I'm gonna, it's so tiny, I'm not gonna put a stone in it or, you know, any grout lines because it basically could be a stone in and of itself. So the idea is remember to keep the orientation there and just a tiny bit of glue. Normally with woodworking, I am very liberal with the glue, and then, yeah, there's a lot of sanding that has to happen afterwards, but with this. Trying to be sparing because it's very difficult to sand and fix. And all I'm doing here now is just making sure that everything up here is flush. There we go. Looking good, guys. That is the beginning of our rampart. All right, so I'm just gonna take another look at the castle here. Let's see, where is the castle? There it is. Sorry, I'm like pushing all the buttons, pushing them all, and they're like going nowhere. All right, so this castle here, it almost looks like the rampart part, if you really think about it, is as thick as the supporting tower piece that's holding it. And it's got a border there on the bottom and perhaps a border on the top. But the parts that make it like fat looking are actually those little conical mini towers that there are 4 of them. But because we're not building all 4 sides, we only have to worry about 3. We need 1 full one, which is the middle one, and then probably like half shaved ones on the side, on the right and left. So I'm thinking that's probably what it is. Let's see here. Yeah, if I squint, it starts to look really good like that. All right, so I still have my piece here. And before I build those conical type things, I think I'm going to just use some. Yeah, I think that they don't jut out like that. They're more like this. Yes. So I'm going to cut up some more foam board. And you know what I can use? I can use a template that I had for this. Let me dig that out. And hopefully it's still in my pile here of templates. That was our tower. That's a wall, a wall. All right, it is not here, but not to fear. Oh, this is a this is part of a roof. See? So we're eventually, when we make the roof, it's going to be kind of like looking like that. But I decided not to go the paper route and go these popsicle stick routes, which we're going to see if I'm going to be regretting or like totally applauding myself for. So let's try and figure out these ramparts before I put in my little toothpick idea, just in case I need to like pull things apart. I don't want to start poking holes in it. So let me move things out of the way and this out of the way. And I actually do have the template for this. What am I talking about? It's all the way over here. So pardon my reach. And let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Here's one. So I'm basically just going to recut this portion and this portion right here because that's the template that I use for here, and it's going to extend up, and we'll cut the excess, and then we'll be able to put our conical towers, you know, where they're supposed to be based on that. So I'm just going to bust out this whole thing again, and whoop. Sorry guys, I just totally hit the mic, so some of your ears are totally, you know, bleeding now. The bleeding ears. All right, so let's see if I can find a little spot to do this. And I'm just gonna move you, wrong way, move you guys out so you can see what the heck it is I'm doing. And so I've been trying to keep all my cutting to the middle here and, you know, to maximize the use of this board because I think we're gonna be able to do this with just this board, and that means $1 to build Castle Frankenstein. So basically I inch to the edge and feel like, okay, it's still solid, we're good. So I'm gonna start cutting, and hopefully my big old head doesn't get in the way. And let me give you guys a little bit more light. Look at that. There we go. Now we're seeing what the heck it is we're really doing here. All right, so came out a little crooked, I'm not gonna lie. But at least the angles will be, mostly right. So we can follow, not the bottom ones, but the top ones are gonna be correct. So so, do I have enough of a score? I don't think I've cut this guy. Okay, I'm gonna actually keep this piece right here for later use. I'm gonna put him right here. And same thing with this guy. Oh, I didn't quite score him out either. This little guy will come with me. And I'm gonna put him, there we go. Now I'm gonna finish cutting this guy out by just lifting the board a little bit so I can go all the way through that black backing panel that we have. All right, it's wiggling like a tooth. There we go. Little crack. So we covered a lot today. We covered lighting, we covered steakhouses, we covered lots of food today. We should do like a cooking stream for all the food dishes that we're mentioning. All right, so let's bring back our victim here, our poor little thing, and see how he works. And I'm going to have to marry up because this angle is not quite right. I'm going to have to marry him up. And now it doesn't really matter if you get the ink on the foam board, because we're going to be painting over it anyways. So see, that's kind of like our extension. I'm going to flip them around for now. Our extension, and then our conicular shapes go on top. But I'm almost wanting to make this jut out and just kind of be like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yep, that is what I'm going to do. And this is going to be a little tall for now, but we'll fix it later. And actually, let's see how tall that is. It's actually a squat little rampart there. It's not very tall. It's kind of a little shorty there. So we're gonna mimic that. All right, so I would say let's try and mimic that thing. So the toughest part is just kind of getting this angle, which is not the same as this angle here, which is how this is cut out. See, it's almost like goes right on top there. So for this, and because he's kind of squat, we're gonna put him here. He's not a very tall. There we go. I think something like that. Something like that. And the other one, the other piece, which I believe is like this. So we're going to have to Let me glue this guy in place first. But before I do that, let me do my stone effect, my fancy smancy stone effect. All right. Now I'm going to bump them out just slightly. So in other words, I'm going to put some glue over here along this seam. Oh, darn. You know what? I didn't miter this edge. And I didn't do the stone effect. Oh, darn. I'm going to have to glue it though, or else we're going to have like a... We're going to have a weird lump. And I have to figure out how to do the stone effect later. That's looking okay. All right, and now for this guy, I'm going to try and match him up. He's a little bit set back for now, but let's get him marked up. And let's see if I can actually remember to do everything to him this time. Oh, let me close this. Oh, that broke pretty bad. Let's see. You know what? I think it's still salvageable. It's salvageable. And I'm going to miter. There I go with the mitering. And see, that's a nice fit, guys. Look at that. We can make a nice little natural stone seam. But let me... Oh, right in my face. Get him nice and texturized. And unlike the other one, I'm going to bring you guys in. We're actually going to add our stoning. Anyone tuning in is like, who are you stoning? Oh my gosh. It's like biblical times. All right, so I'm just kind of following how the stone goes here, and it slightly goes diagonal, almost following this cut here. So I'm going to do the same. And where'd my pencil go? With no lead, just using the tip of that to make our stone grooves. And because we're so high up, I'm going to make the grooves pretty close together. Because we're looking all the way up and we kind of lose detail the higher up or further away things are from us. And this is what I should have done with the other piece, but it didn't happen. I rushed, and that's what happens. And now for this, I don't think I need that anymore. I think I'm just gonna press down, and we're gonna kind of vary these vertical mortar pieces here. Whoop. Or mortar line, grout lines, whatever you wanna call them. All right, and let's see if we can marry it up. Get a little stone there and marry him up right here. And that's gonna look pretty good. And this poor guy didn't get any stone pattern, so we're gonna try and hit him up next. Like Bob Ross says, you don't wanna leave him without a friend. And let's see if I'll back you guys up, because it's way too close. It's having a little bit of trouble focusing. And I'm gonna back you up even more, because I need to stand this up while I do it. There we go. Something like that. Hello, here's my hand. There we go. Sometimes if you just kind of give it a guide, it'll focus correctly. So I'm gonna stand up for this, putting it right against the seam. I'm gonna stand up for this, but now I need to back away because I can't see. and the side would be kind of nice. It's like I want to be close, but not close at the same time, so you end up going like this. All right, guys, our rampart is being built here, and let's add the stone effect, because that looks really bad. It looks like a chiclet, you know, right on there. So let's get him fixed up. And I'll bring you guys back in again. And that nasty marker line makes it look like there's a gap there, but it's not. It's just a marker. All right, I'm going to, you can see how faint and how close together my grout lines are here. So I'm going to do the same thing. Here you can see the difference where the lines are very close together, but here they're further apart. So that's, you know, it should match this. And I got a little overly artistic there and it doesn't match. But it's going to be, a lot of this is going to be covered by our conical towers. So I think we'll be okay. We'll be okay. So I'm going to do the same. And this time I'm going to try and do a much better job of keeping these lines close together. And they don't have to be perfectly straight. Sometimes I like to put a warble kind of in it like that, because after all, this was all hand grouted or hand mortared. Whoops. Construction people be like, what is she saying? It's like, I apologize. There we go. We've been doing so many stones, guys. Those of you that have joined me last time, this is pretty much all we did the whole stream. Yeah, just making stones. Right. And because we have a seam here, I'm going to go ahead and bevel. But actually, no, I take that back. I am not going to bevel. I'm done working because we're going to have a big old cone looking tower coming off of there. So it's not really going to matter. And here, now, of course, if I did better planning, I would have done this entire tower before sticking it on like rickadink popsicle sticks here. Now I'm having to be so careful. That's my own fault, because I just kind of go for things, you know, and then kind of figure it out along the way. Because sometimes I find that if you can't draw it or envision it, sometimes you don't even start the project anyways, you know, so it's nice to just go for it and figure it out. Even though some of it ends up being built a little backwards, and sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to take 1 step forward. It's fine. At least it's getting done, right? So this is kind of where we are. Now, one of the things I notice immediately is that we have a pretty nice straight tower here. This tower is kind of crooked, bent in a little bit like that. Now, normally, if this was going to be freestanding with no decorations, that's not good. We'd have to find a way to fix that. But because we have some giant cones going on all 4 corners, or 3 corners in our case, it's gonna hide it all. So we got away scot-free. Yes. So now we have to figure out this cone situation. So let's see what we got going on here. I'm just going to make a cone, like a cylinder, I should say. It's not really cone, it's cylinder. And see what happens. Let's see here. How are we going to do this? I almost feel like using this because it is so easy to sculpt. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And let me see if I want a fatter piece. Look, there's one that's almost made. Look at that. It's got hollowed out on the inside. And it's almost kind of doing its thing. This might not be bad. Here's a thin piece. Yeah, I want these cones to be bigger though. Let me grab a big old thick piece here. All right. I didn't think I was gonna come back from that, you know. Woo! So let's see. See how thick that is? So I think I'm going to use the same strategy that I used to make this tower right here, because this is in essence what we're making, you know, except way tinier to go on each corner. And so I think I'm going to cut this in half to begin with and start shaping like a cylinder. But instead of using a Dremel, I think I can hand sand this because it's so small. So what do you guys think? Let's start. I'm gonna go for it. I'm already going. I didn't even wait for you guys. I'm going for it. Now, are these cones taller than the rampart area? Yes. So the cone portion, or the cylindrical portion, is as tall as the rampart, but then the cones stick up beyond that. So we just want something that's basically as tall as this guy. So I think we're way above that now. So I'm gonna cut this guy here. Now, when you saw like this, it means that your blade has seen better days. It should just be able to cut in one fell swoop, but we're not doing precision here. All right, so not bad. And I'm going to do this whole one, you know, in case something goes awry, we have a little bit of extra length at the top and at the bottom, you know. So I think I separated out a piece of sandpaper, and this is 100 grit sandpaper to start with. And I'm just going to start sanding like a cone. And for this one, it's got to be pretty much all the way. And then we're going to cut a 90-degree cut in there to be able to fit. So hopefully all that is making sense, you know, somewhat or not. So first thing I'm going to do is sand off. I'm going to move this little guy here. I'm going to sand off these corners. And maybe to make my life easier, heck, let's do this. And at least start forming our cone shape. I want this looks disastrous, guys. This doesn't look good at all. Oh dear, yeah, that's not gonna work. So that's already looking pretty good. Now I'm just gonna do the same on this side. And see, that's already looking cone shaped somewhat. And then I'm just going to cut a 90-degree, like miter here. Miter here. And miter here, which I probably should have done first. All right, come out. Maybe I can do smaller sections and start to chip away at it, because I think I'm just being overly conservative and not digging in too deep. So that way I don't go all the way through on this horrible thing. then we'd have to start over again. Or maybe I'd find a way to glue it. I know me. I'd be like, oh no, you're staying. All right, so we kind of have a 90 degree. It's a little thin there. That's concerning, you know, but we're gonna go with it. And then it's a little too thick there. But let me see if I can fix it a little bit, you know, preferably where you guys can see it. And let's do a fitment test. All right, our fitment test. Ooh, that's looking nice. Now, of course, it obliterates our entire thing, but I'm going to put a couple cuts as to, but I like the fitment. I like how it kind of juts past our thing here, and it's further forward because we're gonna do a nice thing there. But I'm thinking we're probably gonna have to cut it here and cut it here. So, like that's our cut mark there. So I'm just gonna follow up and see if we can get this right. And our cut mark here. Ooh, that seems like it's a lot. Ooh, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Oh, all right. All right. Maybe it's not so bad. I like that side better. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And now all I'm going to do is just, whoop, see how like that edge right here is sharp. We're going to remove that sharpness to finish our cone shape. Actually, probably best to do this with our sandpaper. Yes, much nicer to do that with the sandpaper. And I'm using a very mild 100 grit. You can certainly go tougher, but I'd rather, for this fine detail, just kind of take it little by little. So if you look now, see how that's getting more cone shaped? Looks pretty bad, but as long as the outside looks nice and it looks, you know, pretty cone shaped, we're good. The inside butchery there, we're just gonna ignore that, and no one's gonna see it. So we're beginning to get kind of a smooth cone shape in that line there. Let's take care of that. It's a little too obvious, like you used a blunt craft knife for this type of line. So that's looking pretty good there. And some of these deformities here actually will help it look aged. So let's see here. All right, guys, look. That's looking pretty good. I'm trying to get my hands out of the way, but I still think that it is too wide. I think it just needs to be a little smaller. So I'm going to just trim off a little bit more there and a little bit more here. That was almost nothing. Oh, right in front of my face. Maybe a little more. I think rather than cutting, if I just sand the bulk off, I think we'll be okay. Just seems bulky. And the idea is to have an even cylinder. You know, it's like I've been calling it cone shape, but it's not cone shape. That's the roof line. So as long as we keep a somewhat, you know, even width here, I think we should be good. And we still have our, I guess, bevel or 90-degree cut. I call it a 90-ish degree cut there. And let's see how that's looking now. I'm just trying to decide if it's like too overpowering. It's kind of nice. We are going to put another one here. Let's take a look at our castle. Consult the castle. Yeah, they're kind of small. I think I'm going a little overzealous here. So let me see if I just cut down a tiny bit more, preferably where you guys can see it. And I am talking a hair. And that was a bit more than a hair. So now we have an ugly cut line that I'm going to sand smooth. And getting a lot of that bulk off definitely helped. I think this is going to be the fit. And then the other three, or the other two, should be a little easier because they kind of like fade into the back. They're not like the front and center. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. Look. Yes, I'm going to call that it. And let's mark in the back where it needs to be cut, because consulting the castle, it looks like those little cylinders are the same height as the rampart, and then it's just the cones that kind of jut up. So let's do that. We're going to mimic that. And hopefully I got ink in this thing and I'm holding it where I want. I'm just gonna check. Yes. So let's get up for this. Let's mark this thing. All right. Guys, look, I should have done a much longer piece because I could have cut the other ones. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do that. Like, you know, like I did for the other thing where I cut a big old long strip. So, darn. Oh well. Let's see here. Which side did I like? I think I liked this side like that. I think I need to carve out just a little bit more. It's not really sitting right. Scary. Scary. Especially since some of the sections here are so thin already. It's all quiet because I'm concentrating. I don't want to mess it up. It's like when people are eating for the holidays. Everyone's like, yup, 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 yappy, yappy, yap. And then as soon as the food is served, everyone's quiet because everyone's busy eating. All right, let's see how we're looking here. And we're going to put our little watchtower, or one of them. So all I'm going to do now is just slightly sand its butt area, like right here. Because there's a sharp line where I cut, and I just want to round it off just a tiny bit, like a little bevel. We don't have to worry too much about the top. And put him there. And I think I'm going, because it's kind of fragile, I'm going to glue them on, and then I'm going to worry about sticking this stone. Although I will put our meteor. Tinfoil meteor on it. And I think for this it might be a little bit easier to use. Just poke a couple. There we go. It's looking all porous. And then I'll add some more. These kind of add a little bit bigger dents to it. So we have like the smaller, there we go. We have the smaller little holes mixed with some larger dents there. And that should give us kind of a realistic stone texture. And I'm just gonna hood it there because I don't want this to be crooked. That would be the worst if it ends up being all crooked. Now this is gonna hide the fact that some of our wall lines for this rampart got a little crooked. I'm not gonna lie, the blade just went yoke. Decided to take its own field trip on me. So luckily we have these little cylinders. And that is looking pretty good. Kind of like the mix of the white and the purple foam. And the other idea I had, so I suppose you could do this with a dowel too, and simply cut reliefs for your dowel there. So instead of having this thing here, you could have probably just cut it and glue little pieces on either side of your dowel. So that's, you know, another idea. I was thinking of how to tackle this thing, but because I have a lot of this purple foam lying around, I figured, heck, I'd use it. I must have ordered something on eBay however long back, I don't even remember what, but I remember it came full of this purple foam around it, and I was about to toss it, and I was like, wait a minute, I know me, I better not toss it, because I'll definitely use it. So let's... Picked up my craft knife by the blade. There, so let's see if we can maybe start adding little details to it. So now I'm gonna try and make these lines really close together because this thing is all the way up there. All the way up on the mountain or our cliff. And where is my blunt end pencil? A little tough to do with everything connected, but I figured it'd give me something to hang on to because this thing is so tiny. So I think we got most of the features of the castle planned for. There'll be a couple, you know, a couple differences, creative leisures that we'll take with it, especially since you're working off kind of an artistic painting. Oh, David Beck has a castle emoji. It almost looks like Cinderella's castle, but this will be the evil Cinderella's castle. Ooh, I cut in kind of deep there. Whoops. Whoopsie. And I'm not gonna lie, I had no plan for this. I had some foam and I was like, I'm gonna figure it out live. How to do all this stuff. I had some ideas like, hey, maybe we can make this out of that, or, you know, figure it out, but there is no... All I did was stick that castle into Photoshop, blow it up, which of course it completely pixelated, making it look like an incoherent blob, but I just kind of drew out the wireframe lines that I saw, the different building pieces. The rest are just very difficult to see, so that's where we're going to take our creative leisures. but we'll get the basic shape down. All right, so we have, I mean, that looks pretty awful. So let's start adding our vertical mortar lines. Oh, it looks like a Tootsie Roll or a part of a worm, like his segmented worm. That's pretty bad. So ever so gently, although this is not bad, it's pretty sturdy. So I'm happy with that. But let's start adding those. Let's see what's the best way to do this. I think maybe like this. And I'm going to add a bunch of them because this thing is so far away that we're going to see, and my hands are going to totally be in your way for a bit. And I do apologize. Because I'm going to add a whole bunch of like little rocks or little stones rather than some of the bigger stones from the castle below, just to vary up the stones. That way the whole thing just looks way too uniform and it just starts to get boring looking. So this way we can just have different stones. There we go. The camera's gonna struggle with focus here for a bit. Just because it's like, I don't know what to focus on. There's hands, there's pens, all kinds of things. And going down. But that is looking pretty good. Now it's looking more like a stone. Or at least like a lot of broken pieces. This is probably the tiniest little grouts, little stones I've ever created. That's good though, because that's about all the detail I think we need for these cylindrical towers. I was calling them conicular. Conicular. I'm gonna stick with it. All right, so I think something like that. See, it's like a little mini tower. Maybe that's where he hides all of his like secret experiments, liquids and ingredients and stuff. So we got one, and we have to mimic that on this corner here and this hidden corner here. And we have this one kind of done. And we don't need the entire thing. I'm in fact gonna cut a lot of it off. Let's flip this thing around and see what we got going. It's gonna be thinner. So we probably don't even need it to totally go over. Yeah, that's about it. So let me just add some, I'm gonna actually test and see if it's easier to put the, you know, like those little patterns on it on the table. Ooh, I think I'm gonna, can I just glue it? Yeah, I'm gonna go for it because you know what? That crack might end up looking cool. And then once it's glued, then I'll do that. So I'm bagging I was gonna do that first, but now that this thing is cracked, I might as well get it on there. Remember I was saying one end looked like really thin and I was kind of worried? Well, that was that end. So let's see if I can just kind of squeeze them on here. And David has a heart for the project. He's loving it. That's awesome. No, I'm actually kind of loving it too. I'm really liking the way it's turning out, and I think we have some cool plans for it. I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a faux cathedral window lightning detector with Castle Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein. So I think that'll be unique. I'm super glad that we didn't do the LCD screen. I think this is a much better deal. So I think I'm going to take a pair of scissors. And what I'm seeing is that this tower is taller than this tower. And because this tower is further away, it would not appear so. So because it's so fragile, I'm going to try and do this with scissors rather than blunt crafting knives, right? And one of you guys, I think it was one of you guys on Twitch, mentioned getting crafting knife sharpeners, and that's definitely something that is on my shopping list to do, hopefully before the end of the week, because that way we can carve our cliffs and all that. All right, so I think that's looking better, and I'm just going to use my pencil to kind of blunt out these things, and the camera's going a little haywire. We'll see how it behaves here in a second. There we go. It likes that depth, which might be good because that's kind of how I'll have to do this. This is kind of uncomfortable. Now, if I were to just sketch all these things up and in SketchUp and all that, then a lot of this wouldn't be a problem because we would cut all these, texturize all these, and then put them together rather than doing it kind of simultaneously. It creates a couple hurdles, but I'm okay with them. Kind of figure things out as we go. And I know I'm not the only one, so I'm rocking it proud. Now, these lines are going a little crooked. I'm going to try and fix as I work my way down. Make them less slanted. And pardon the blur, it is just not knowing how to handle this project. Perhaps it is too awesome for the lens. It's like I cannot focus on such awesomeness. Right? Ooh, that got a little close. Ooh, whoopsies. But yeah, this pretty much kind of hides the fact that our walls were a little bit crooked. Let's hide it nicely. Hide the mistakes. All right, so we got our segmented worm going on with our crack. Hopefully when we paint that, that's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to start trying to add our vertical mortar pieces. And I'm going to add a whole bunch of them, just like I did the other tower, just to make it look like a bunch of tiny little bricks. And I'm going to kind of get up for this one so I can kind of hover over it. And for now, this kind of looks like mush. I get that. And even if this thing looks kind of speckled, that'll be pretty good. Because it'll just look like a bunch of tiny little stones that don't have regular shapes. And they're just kind of thrown up there. By now, perhaps Frankenstein or Dr. Frankenstein was running out of funds, you know, because it's difficult to fund an operation like his, you know, bringing things to life and all that. So there's our other one. And so you can imagine the little cones coming off of each of these and then the big cone coming off the one in the middle. Now, all we need is like a little, I mean, I don't even know if we need him if he's visible, but I can almost probably take something like this. See, like something like this guy right here and call it a day. Let's see if I can, oh so delicately, cut him. Or see, oh, wait a minute. I have one that's already cut. Look at that, guys. I think this was like a practice for when I was trying to figure out how to do these pieces right here. I was kind of practicing on something bigger. And yeah, I only need like, this side is the most. Let's see if I just take half of him really, because he's like faded into the background. Something like that. Yeah. So I am just going to kind of just round him out and see how he looks. He might be okay. And I'm going to mark where I want to cut him. Just about here. So yeah, we don't really need a full cylinder for this guy because he's, perspectively speaking, he's all the way in the back there. So you don't see much of him. He's just kind of... And for him, I indeed am going to do some of this stuff. And I don't even really think I have to because he's really not going to be seen, but just in case. And let me move him closer to you guys. Using a little piece of scraps. That's why I leave all the scraps all over the place because let me see. He's actually better. He got flat. Look, he got completely flattened. Let me try using this guy. The next victim, we're moving on to victim number 2. Yep, he's going to be much better. Ooh. I guess I don't need that. Yep, and all I gotta do is cut a nice sharp edge here so he can actually fit pretty well. And bevel him out just a tiny bit more. Guys, this is looking pretty good. It's very like white, unicorn, white and purple unicorns and rainbows looking right now. And all I need is literally a sliver of this guy. And I'm just picking him because he is much thicker than this poor guy that got flattened. And let's just cut. And then we are done. The fourth one that would appear back here, well, he's implied. We don't really need him. He's not even really visible in the picture or in the painting. All right. And maybe I will glue him. Ooh, I have an idea. I'm getting braver, guys. I'm getting super brave, which might be not so great in what I'm about to do. Oh, diggy dig. Oh, come back here. Come back here. I'm just giving myself more surface area for glue is what I'm trying to really do here by just hollowing this out. That way I have 2 surface areas for glue versus the one, because he just kind of like wraps back around here just like that. So I'm just gonna fill this little crevice here that I created with glue and preferably not get my fingers. Oh, ouch, ouch. Get the wisp. Transfer. And apply. Yes. Like a champion. We did it, guys. We got our little cone. Not cone, cylindrical. Cylindrical. And David is saying it is micro foam surgery. Yes, guys, like I need like little tweezers, little spectacles, and everything for this because, whew. All right, so we are nearing the roof portion of our build here. And I don't even know why I'm doing this because I don't even really think this area will be visible, but it's the worst if you don't do it and then you paint it and it is, you know, visible enough where you're like, oh man, I had the opportunity. So I might as well create my worm segments on this thing and then just add a couple verticals just to add some kind of mortar looking things. There we go. So that is our rampart. And now it's time to put the cones on it. Oh, here's my pen. Put the cones on this thing. So it's looking pretty good here. Yeah, I'm gonna put it, you know, maybe over here so you all can see him. And the purple, you know, cylinders right now look kind of funny, but we're gonna fix them. We're gonna fix them. All right. So now cones. And should I put the big cone on first? I probably should. So let me take a look at the picture and see. I believe it is the cone that is the tallest of all of the towers. So let's see here. Castle. So yes, this cone sits above all other cones, but it's not like super long and pointy. I would say it's a medium pointy. So let's figure out what it is we can do here. So, got our guy. I'm going to clear this area here, and I'm debating whether to take this paper or our TV dinner paper. And I'm going to take these staples out. It's almost like this thing here would be pretty good. We'll see. You know what? I think I will use this paper indeed because it's a lot easier to bend and we can always transfer it onto the stiffer stuff once we get the size right. Time for a snack. Oh, David Beck is gonna get a snack. Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm gonna push on because I think we can get these cones done, and then the rest is pretty much replicating what we've already done. So I can do a lot of that to prep us for tomorrow. And let me grab something down here. Let's see if I can stretch. All right, so I have a compass here to help us draw a nice circle. And I'm going to turn this over so we don't get confused. I'm going to start with kind of a big one. I'm just widening this, and it takes forever. All right. Let's try something like this. And all I'm doing, it already moved. All I'm doing is just drawing a circle. And I'm gonna back this on up so you guys see what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is taking my compass and drawing a perfect circle. I have a strategy for my cone. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. There we go. Now I'm going to cut it out, and let me mark the center portion where my little thing was. There we go. Before it becomes flattened out and then I can't find it. So let me cut this out. So I'm overcutting. I think this is going to be too big, but we can always then kind of shrink it down. Because once it's too shrunk, you can't unshrink it. So let's see. There we go. And I'm just going to cut towards this, the little dot. And theoretically, we should be able to make a cone. And this one is way too big, but in so doing this, I think I have a much better idea because we don't need the back of the cone. So I'm making a cone that we don't even really need. And it just dawned on me that we can go back to our toothpicks, because all I need to do is just kind of create 2 or 3 points and then put the shingles around it, and we should be good. That should be a good cone, rather than trying to mess with this. And then we are going to have to cut the back of it out anyways. Let's see. Although that might be not bad. Let me give it one more pass before I completely give up on this. Maybe something much smaller. All right. Before I go with my toothpick idea, or my popsicle stick, toothpick, whatever it is I decide to use, I'm gonna try this. There we go. See how that works. We're almost there. Yeah, that's much. That might be good. But it is going to be bulky. So I think what I'm going to do is try my toothpick idea. Which I'm going to cut in half. So I'm going to give you guys a closer view. And I know the table is like a hot mess right now. I get that. So it's like, where is she? What? I can't see anything. So I'm going to start by cutting this toothpick here in half. And hopefully the ends don't go flying. Like it just did. But I think we just need one for now. And I can, in essence, stick this toothpick up here and create our cone. Yep, I am liking that idea. So this needs to be a little bit longer. So let's see here. Let me mark this so you guys can see it. My table's getting so full of crap I can't find the crap I need. So I'm going to start by marking it there so you can see how much longer it is from my original cut. That original cut, I was like, I'm just going for it. Let's see what happens. And there we go. Cut it all. So, because with the end of the toothpick, we can actually just stab it into the foam, and that's going to make our lives way easier, way less glue. Like, see, I think that's a nice roof. So let me back it on up a little bit for you. Whoop, wrong way. For you guys. And some of you are getting snacks. I am super jealous of your snack getting, but I will be too shortly, because we're almost there. So, I'm gonna go like that. And I'm gonna stick some hot glue on the very top. Actually, I'm gonna do that first before sticking the toothpick there. Whoop. Let me get that glob off. Oh no! Oh no! It got on my castle. But that's okay, that's gonna be covered by the glue. not the glue, the, uh-oh. Which toothpick is it? I think it's this one. Oh no, people. Okay. I'm gonna have to re-glue because I fumbled. All right, let's keep this, I'm holding it at an angle that I think will be pretty good for a cone. And I should have measured out another piece like that. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I just stuck it right into the foam. There we go. So let that be there. And I'm gonna cut another toothpick. Where's my dispenser? Right in front of me. And if I recall, it was, you know, it was mostly like that. So that's what we're gonna go for. It was a little more than halfway. So I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to stab it into the foam and then add some glue. Whoop. All right. And glue these little guys together. And I'm just going to hold it because it's so much. It's exhilarating to watch glue dry, right? Not. All right. Just getting our little twins there. I think I'll do one more on this side right here to connect our other tower, and then that should be good. We should be able to wrap our shingle pieces around. So that'll be good. And after that, we will have the framework done for this castle, and we're basically going to be repeating these sticks and stuff on the remaining pieces. So you guys already seen all this is done. So I'm going to fast forward and get these prepped up for the next stream so we can move on to some of the other big components and start our electronics next week. That's the part I'm really excited about. Well, painting this, because that's always like therapeutic and fun, and then the electronics. So I'm going to do the same and kind of like guesstimate where I cut this. It's a little more than halfway, you know, maybe something like that. Oh, did my big portion I need to go over there? It did. I'll do another one. Now I'm going to move this out of the way, and let's see, it's like that. There we go. All right, so here's our big one, and I'm going to put him over here. And I will equally, actually, he's a little bit big, so he can lose some length there. Yes. This is actually turning out pretty good, guys. And get up so I can see what I'm doing. This from the back looks like really scary. I get that. Look at this. This is pretty horrible. Just, ouch, ouch, ouch. Sometimes using your finger is a lot easier. As long as you can, you know, suffer the pain. All right. I'm just going to hold him here for a little bit until he finishes setting. that is pretty good. So we have the framework. I'm going to back it on out just a little bit and move some of this stuff so we can actually see what we're looking at. So we have the framework for our castle, like we figured out pretty much the hardest part, and this was the objective of the stream, was to figure out the roof lines, how these three facades are going to connect with each other, and the major shapes they were going to do it, because the rest of it isn't that bad. We have, you know, our little tower here, and he's going to get another cone just like that. So basically whatever I did here, I'm going to repeat right on here, same deal. And he's going to look something like this. This will be tilted upward just slightly. And then we have our other little house, which is going to go over here, and he's going to have the same kind of angle as the main house. And then we have this little tower, this purple tower here in the back. And this is going to get the exact same roof that we did here with the exact same, or pretty similar angle, there. So that should, you know, it's the same thing you guys already saw. And then the last thing we're going to figure out on cliff carving day are these final two pieces, because these are the most embedded into our cliff. And so that is this little tower here, and he's got a crumbly little top, basically another rampart, just like this one. I'm going to repeat and make on this side. So same deal. And so he's going to be floating off into the distance here. So this portion here and this portion here, they look like they're the same level. So they're like the base of our castle once we glue it down or attach it to our backing panel. And then this little bridge over here is another, this one and this one, last piece that we're going to do, because it kind of fits into the cliff. It's kind of floating. You know, there's no real good way to connect it to the rest of the house, you know, unless I maybe I do something like this, or maybe I do something, you know, like this. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'd like to put this on the cliff first before we do all that. So I think we got through a lot today. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we got through a lot. So thank you guys for joining me. This stuff goes so much faster when you're with me, and you've already given me a ton of great ideas. And I'm going to be heading over to Discord and listening to your guys' ambient lighting ideas. So definitely post them up, because I tend to use a lot of your ideas. I mean, that's why we do this stuff, to be able to build together and just take the project in a totally different direction. It's no fun just me building alone with all my ideas, right? So I want to build with your ideas. And Dave, it looks like he's back from his snack. And oh my God, David, you missed some amazing glue drying. Let me tell you, it was riveting, in fact, as in not at all. So the glue drying you missed was just our 3 toothpicks. But for whatever reason, it took forever to do those 3 toothpicks, because every time I cut toothpicks, they went flying, and then I had to cut more toothpicks. So, that was actually the most boring glue drying part of all. But we got our framework done. I'm going to repeat what I did right here for this, this facade. I'm going to repeat it on this facade and put him kind of like right there. And then these two are kind of our floaters. Like I was saying, they are going to be embedded into the cliff. That one's going to go right around there. This is going to kind of float somewhere here, and it's going to, be lodged into the cliff. So we're going to put these aside until we can kind of figure out how to do that once we have our cliff in place. I'm going to be repeating pretty much what we did up here, minus the cylinders. We're going to be repeating, on this side. So nothing y'all haven't seen. We're going to add a couple more trim pieces, and then this thing will be ready for paint, and more importantly, all the electronics next week. So definitely hit up Discord, because I want to hear all of your ambient lighting ideas, because once it's wired, it's wired. So come on, let's get it all in. Even if it's wacky, definitely just post it. You never know. I'll probably go for it. All right, guys, so I'll see you the very next stream, and we're going to continue and wrap up this castle and start carving that cliff and wrap that up as well, that treacherous cliff, and figure out a painting scheme. So I will catch you guys next time. It is time for my Hungry Man's, TV dinner. I'm going to see if I have the Hungry Man fried chicken dinner, because that's the one I'm craving. You guys have been posting little, drumstick legs all over the place. So I'm just like, So before I eat the screen, I'm going to get out of here. So I'll catch you guys later. Thanks again for joining.